African Cup of Nations, the focus for most Nigerians will be Group C, as I said earlier, where Nigeria will take on Tunisia, Tanzania, and Uganda, and preparations are in top gear right there in Cairo, Egypt, which is the preliminary base of the Super Eagles at this point in time. TVC Sports editor Prem Sefoge is in camp and is bringing us up to speed with the latest from the players and the officials as well. We know quite well that Paul Onuachu has arrived camp. How many players do we have in camp at this point in time, and who are the arrivals, or who are the expected arrivals in camp?
All right, Paul Onuachu is the 12th player to arrive at the Super Eagles camp. I earlier reported that we have 11, and they include the very first arrival, Francis Uzoho, Stanley Nwabali, Fisayodele Bashiru, Amaso Basugie, Akinsumiro Ebenezer, Shemia Jai, Demola Lukman, Bright Osai Samuel Ogbu, who is making a return after some months out with injury. Tochukwu Nnadi is also a new invitee. Zaidu Sanusi arrived very early Monday morning at about 4 a.m. Local time. And Paul Onuachu is the 12th man in the fold. 4 more players are expected this evening before training would beckon. Captain Wilfred Ndidi, Calvin Bassi, Alex Iwobi, and Frank Onyeka have touched down in Cairo as we speak. They are still very much at the airport trying to, get their bags and get every logistics right. And afterwards, they will head down to camp. We'll have a training session this evening, 8 p.m. local time at the Cairo International Stadium, same venue where the test game against Egypt will be played on Tuesday night.
Okay, let's talk about the players, and the mood in camp. 12 players, you said, and there will be a training session this evening. We know quite well that the squad has been marred with injuries of late, especially the shock retirement as well of former captain William Troost-Ekong. What's the mood like in camp, and are the players really feeling the pressure of over 200 million Nigerians in terms of the expectations of Nigerians for them to deliver this time around?
Well, pressure is part of the game. These are professional players who deliver week in, week out for their clubs. National team football is periodical. When you play for big clubs across Europe, you would understand the importance of playing at this level. Pressure is part of the game. At club level, you are expected to deliver every weekend. When you bring that mentality to the national team, it's a lot easier to cope. The Nations Cup is just a few days away. Remember the last time we competed at this tournament, the Super Eagles got to the final. I think what's just on the mind of these players is to go one better, and knowing fully well that the disappointment of not qualifying for the World Cup is still lingering in the heads and hearts of Nigerians. They want to go one step better and perhaps ameliorate that disappointment by, perhaps winning the Africa Cup of Nations this time. It would be a very difficult task. It might be a tough mountain to climb, but is it possible? Yes, it is possible, because Nigeria has got a plethora of superstars, a plethora of players who can do the job at this level. You talked about injuries. Olaino has always been a key figure for the Super Eagles. He will not be available until sometime next year. But in his absence, Ryan Alebioshu, the man who's won MVPs for Blackburn Rovers week in, week out in the English Championship, is coming in to replace him. We still have Bright Osai Samuel in that position. And so, irrespective of the injury worries, I think Coach Eric Chelsea has got options in every department, and he will be looking at those options, especially with a test match against Egypt later tomorrow, to see how he can fine-tune his lads for the tournament.
Okay, reports have surfaced, in the media over the past 1 hour that Coach Eric Chelsea has appointed Wilfred Ndidi as the captain of the side, the new captain. I heard you also say Captain Wilfred Ndidi when you talked about players expected in camp, and we've also heard that the likes of Moses Simon and Alex will be the assistants. Can you confirm that to us authoritatively?
Well, the moment Troost-Ekong retired, Wilfred Ndidi immediately became the captain, because under Eric Chelsea, Troost had been the captain, and Wilfred Ndidi had been the first vice captain. Just like when you have a president of a nation leave his post, the vice president automatically becomes the president. And so in the absence of William Troost-Ekong due to retirement, the first vice captain under same manager, if there was a change of management, if there was a change of coach, then there would have been a conversation who would be the next captain, because, I mean, coaches would have their preferences, coaches would have their choices, but under Eric Schell, it was Troost-Ekong as captain, Wilfred Ndidi as first vice captain, Moses Simon as second vice captain, and so under same management, once the captain leaves, the first vice captain automatically becomes the captain. And so that was why I wasn't mincing words when I said Captain Wilfred Ndidi, because in Troost-Ekong's absence, he becomes the captain.
Okay. Well, we know quite well that, the competition is taking place mid-season when it comes to domestic leagues across Europe. So some of these players may be the wear and tear on the body. Are there any injury concerns Nigerians should know about just before I let you go?
When Eric Schell delayed in releasing his provisional list and ditto his final list, there were a lot of, talks. Why is it taking so much time? What is the federation hiding? What is Eric Schell hiding? The French coach needed to be very careful in ensuring that at the time he's releasing his final list, he's, submitting names of players that will be fit and ready for the tournament. And that was exactly what he did. And so every name you find in the 26-man final list are available for selection. Every man on that list have no injury concerns, and so there is nothing to worry about as far as injuries are concerned. It's mid-season, like you said. The players have been playing for their clubs. I mean, we saw them over the weekend. With Ndidi, we saw Kevin Bassett score a goal. We saw Victor Osimhen score. Paul Onuachu was also on the scorer's sheet across the board. I mean, these guys were all in action just a few hours ago at the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They were all in action for their clubs. And so none of them, got injured. We all saw that. And so if there was any report of injury, I would have been the first to make mention of that. So every person on that list is fit and ready to go.
Okay, we'll just, see how things pan out really in terms of, the players and the training session this evening. Promise Efoge, TVC Sports Editor, thank you so much for your time on show this evening.
Thank you, Samson.
Thank you so much. Well, we know quite well that the Super Eagles are intensifying preparations for the big one, and one player is excited about his recall to the squad. That's goalkeeper Francis Uzoho, who is making a return after about a 2-year absence from the national team. Let's hear him speak about his recall.
I missed quite a lot, but I think I missed the boys. To be honest, I missed the boys. I missed the vibe in the camp, because we've been quite a lot together. And I think the most noticeable thing I missed is the boys, being around the boys and us being together in all types of challenges. It was relieving to know that I'm coming back again to be with the boys and to have that same feeling we used to have before, and to represent Nigeria, which is the most important thing. I think anybody that is called up into the national team is ready. If you're not ready, you won't be called up. I think the technical crews, the scouts, they know what they're doing, and for them to call somebody up, they know that the person is ready to represent the country.
Well, we'll see if he's able to display Stanley Nwabali as Nigeria's #1 going into the competition itself. It's a decision that Coach Eric Schell will definitely make at some point. But this is the group once again where the Super Eagles find themselves against 2004 champions Tunisia. You have Tanzania in there and Uganda. On paper, it looks like a straightforward group for the Super Eagles in terms of qualification. Everyone would expect them, or the bookmakers, let me call it that, would expect them to qualify alongside Tunisia. But football, they say it's like biscuit. You do not know where it cracks. Upsets definitely is the name of the game. Now, key players to look out for the Super Eagles. It has to be with the talisman himself, Victor Osimhen. Lots of goals, lots of, energy. Is always bustling rather. He is the leader of the team, you want to call him at this point in time. Quite a handful of leaders, it must be said. But Victor Osimhen, in terms of goal scoring, the responsibility certainly lies with him. For Ademola Lookman, the former African Footballer of the Year, yeah, maybe in recent times a lack of form or loss of form, if you want to call it. but you can't rule out what it brings on a good day. That burst of energy is right there. You can also expect a bit of tricky, and if he's in form, it will definitely contribute immensely to the Super Eagles' attacking options. The last Africa Cup of Nations, he scored 3 goals right there. Now, Calvin Bassey, in the absence of William Troost-Ekong, you would expect him to be the leader in that defense line, to be the marshal right there. And we know quite well, we see him week in, week out for Fulham Football Club. He also has the burst of energy to, bump forward offensively. He can contribute right there in terms of, putting in the crosses. Defensively, again, it's all about the strength, the stamina, the physique, trying to bully off defenders or strikers now off the ball. These are players you would expect. Everyone in particular, these players would stand out for the Super Eagles as it were. Let's take a look quickly at the man who will be calling the shots, making the tough decisions. Coach Eric Chell, thus far, it's definitely a Cinderella run, you want to call it. Very good results thus far, although the game against DR Congo, that was quite decisive. It was a sad penalty loss, but when you look at the results overall, he's probably made a good impression of himself thus far. You look at Nigeria's biggest achievements when it comes to the Africa Cup of Nations, quite a handful of runners-up positions, but they've also been champions as well. In 1980, champions, 1984, 88, 90, runners-up rather. Third place, we call it the Golden Bronze, back here at home. Third place in 1994, they were champions again. We all can recall that golden squad of 94, a squad that boasts of numerous talents, it must be said. The year 2000, it was a runners-up spot for the Super Eagles. That painful loss to the indomitable Lions of Cameroon right there. 2002, third place. You have 2004, third place. I said earlier, Tunisia, the opponents won that one. 2006 and 10 as well, third place. And the last time we were champions was in 2013 when the late Stephen Keshi, the legend himself, propelled the side to yet another continental trophy and third place as well as runners-up at the last competition. So there's really a whole lot to look out for when it comes to the Super Eagles and participating at the Africa Cup of Nations. The big question everyone is asking, can they go a step further than they did last time out when they finished as runners-up? It's all about doing it again, but doing it better as it were. We'll take a breather right now. When we return, we have more to talk about on the Africa Cup of Nations with emphasis on Group F, where Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Gabon, and Mozambique lay.
TVC Sport Desk.